Hello, everybody. Kirsten here, and welcome to the podcast. I actually don't know at the time of this recording what the name of the podcast currently is. So, spoiler alert, we have a change coming. The artwork isn't going to change. I know that this throws me the most when a podcast I've been listening to suddenly changes everything. Like the color's different on the little player in my car, and the name is different. And I'm just like, oh, I process change pretty dramatically sometimes. So, in case you're like me, I want to give you a heads up that this is coming. The Decision Masters podcast will be known, unless it already is by the time this episode comes out, as the Decision Ease podcast. And I actually have a whole episode explaining this and what it has to do with you and what it means going forward. So, I just want to give you a little heads up, a little sneak peek. You will see a different name, but it still starts with the word decision, which I did on purpose. And everything else is going to look the same. So, welcome to whichever podcast you're listening to right now. I'm Kirsten, and I was thinking the other day, as I've been collecting a lot of new resources, like I said, we have some changes going on here, and some of those include a new freebie, the 5 things clear-headed decision makers get right. So you can head on over to kirstenparker.com/clear. We also have a new workshop, the Decision Ease Essentials. Seriously, I wish I had this, I don't know, 10, 20, 25 years ago. The next best thing is having it now in your pocket so that you can start making decisions easier all over your life. That workshop you can get at kirstenparker.com/essentials. We're really embracing decision ease here. We are leaning hard into this. And as we've been doing that in the background, I've been paying a lot more attention to what do I really do to make my everyday decisions easier, because I do have an easier time just moving through my days than I did many, many years ago. There used to be a lot of friction and a lot of mental chaos and a lot of stop and start. So what I've done is collected 5 big decisions that I made that trickle down to have this effect in making every day easier. And I don't think that these are things that you need to exactly replicate. I want to share them with you so that you can get your own gears turning and think about, what could I decide once and maybe do something about? Maybe it is literally just a mental shift, but how would that make my everyday easier? So I have some questions that I'm going to ask you to consider after each decision I share, just so that you can find your own big decisions. Sometimes I like to call these domino decisions, like what things that are going to make a lot of other things easier and really cut your mental load down. I'm telling you, we're all about ease, and I'm here for it. So the first big decision I made was that my home being easy to maintain was a priority. Let me explain. I am a person who is quite affected by clutter and by things piled up. Every time I see something that it is not put away, or worse, doesn't have a place to go, it's like an open loop. It's like my brain has now clocked that as unfinished business, and it adds to the mental load, especially if it's something that I'm walking past like 14 times a day and I'm just not dealing with it. And that takes up a lot of my mental real estate. So when I moved in, I made it a priority that I invest time and energy and money, not a lot of money, but I was like going to the Container Store because I was like, this needs to make sense. It needs to be easy for things to get put where they belong. Things need a home. I need to be able to reset because I'm human. I don't live in pileless museum like pristine starkness with no things on surfaces, but I do want to be able to reset the space without needing to do an entire 2-day long deep clean. And this is something, I don't know, it kind of sounds like a small deal when I explain it out loud. But for me, it's a really big deal because of the toll it takes if I don't make this decision. If I just accept, well, this is a silly thing to prioritize and you have other stuff to do and this shouldn't matter that much. If I accept that and I'm living with like clutter and piles and things and unfinished business, it's super draining. That's like half my mental energy that's not available every day now. And it makes me feel like I'm walking around settling all the time, which takes its own amount of energy and is not fun. So my question to you to find your version of this, because maybe this is effortless for you and you don't struggle with it, or maybe you don't care. So my question for you to be able to find your big decision here is, where does friction constantly show up in your day that might be able to be solved upstream? For me, it was walking around constantly seeing things that didn't belong anywhere, so they had nowhere to go except for piles. This could be something you pay attention to, like, what am I constantly noticing on a day-to-day basis? What's taking mental energy or taking up mental real estate that really could be solved with a bigger decision? And usually it's some kind of investment of something, your time, your attention, your money, whatever. What would make it worth it? Okay, the second decision I made, the big decision, I picked my problems. Here's what I mean. Here's my example that I came up with. I am not a plant person. This is my truth. I have discovered, as I'll actually get to later in this episode, that I might be like a half outdoor plant person. I am not an indoor plant person. I never have been. I've never been eager to have plants around. I've never been eager or good at keeping plants inside alive. My husband is a plant person, but y'all, as of this recording, my husband has not lived in the same house as me for like a year and a half. And all those plants that he used to like having around, man, no, they didn't make it. Here's the decision I made though. I picked my problems. In your life, you walk around and your brain is constantly scanning for things that are wrong, things that are going wrong that are either going to be a threat to you or need to be fixed. That takes its own mental toll. You know this. So when I'm walking around my house and I was seeing the plants dying, let's just be honest, there was a potential that I could see those and constantly think multiple times a day, ugh, there's another thing I'm failing at. Ugh, that's another thing that I haven't gotten to. Ooh, this is something that I have to do. More unfinished business. Unlike the piles of things that I decided, ooh, yes, this is a problem I need to solve. I decided the plants are not a problem that need solving. I do not need to come up with a system to keep them alive. That is not my priority right now. They're my husband's plants. If he wants to come up with a system to keep them alive while he's not here, that is his prerogative. And I am so excited for what he does or doesn't come up with. I'm not actually excited. I don't care. This is not my problem to solve. So here's my question for you to be able to find your version of this, because mental load is not just about your to-do list. It's what you constantly notice and think needs to matter unless you tell yourself otherwise. So my question is, what is taking up brain space that does not need to? What can you decide, this is not my problem to solve? An alternative, can you tell I had fun coming up with these points for today's episode? An alternative that I found is, this is not something I need to have an opinion about. I was recently talking to a client who was kind of mentally wrapped up in a decision that her parents were making. And when we got to the bottom of it, when I asked her, does this truly need to impact you? Her answer was no. She was choosing to let it impact her. And there was a certain amount of caring that she wanted to do, but she had not recognized the opportunity to just not have an opinion on it. She didn't need to if she didn't want to. So, what's taking up headspace that doesn't need to? Or what are you having an opinion about that you don't need to? When you make those bigger decisions, would that free up your mental load? All right, speaking of plants, the third big decision I made was, it's okay for me to embrace a hobby. I'll admit, I didn't go seeking this out. I've been told more than once in my life that I need a hobby. I don't know how similar or different you are from me in this respect. Personally, I've never been a hobby person. And I never felt like I was missing out on anything. I would read books on vacation. I was like kind of fine. But then I moved to a home with over 50 rose bushes. Guess what is a great opportunity to embrace a hobby? When rose bushes keep growing and one of your dogs is blind and he keeps walking into them, and then you walk past them with your clothes that get snagged on thorns because the rose bushes just keep growing. I saw an opportunity to either hire someone to maintain these things or learn how to do it myself. So while I didn't decide you need a hobby, what I will say is I thought, you know what? If I learn to take care of rose bushes, first of all, I learned something new that has nothing to do with my job, which is really delicious for my brain. I get an excuse to be outside most weekends. And I get an excuse to just get into some flow, which is also very delicious for our brains. We do need to get into flow to optimize our cognitive health. We need to get into flow to be able to access our highest creative potential. So this really convenient excuse to just be outside and focus on something that has nothing to do with my work and get some nature time, get some vitamin D. It lets me go into the rest of my week with a very different nervous system and brain state than I would if my brain never got a break, if my body never got a break. So my question for you is not about if you have a hobby or not, or if you want a hobby or not. My question is, where can you allow yourself space for flow, not function? And kudos if you already have a space regularly in your week or even in your day or in every other day where that is space for flow, not function. Are you noticing that? Are you celebrating that? Are you prioritizing it? Are you thinking it's as big a deal as it is? Because I want you to recognize the benefits that's having on your everyday decision making. It's probably making it a lot easier. The fourth big decision I made is automating everything I can. This is one of those meta decisions that has just let me kind of assign one of the minions in my mind to paying attention to, could this be automated? Kind of all the time. Not in a over controlling way, but in a just a way that invites me to notice this isn't as efficient as it could be. This over here is more stressful than it needs to be, which trickles down into the day to day as just like a little layer of ease, just like a little cream cheese frosting of like, look it, 7 things didn't bother me today because they weren't hard. Those add up, right? So some examples, I've talked about this before. If you're not using it yet, I need you to start using this on your computer. If you constantly open the same tabs, if you don't, then ignore this. But if you do, you need to install Toby. Toby. It is free. It has literally changed the way that I use the internet because I open the same tabs for, I think I have 7 groups of things because when I'm working on this thing, I open these freaking 16 tabs. When I work on this thing, I open these tabs. And to be able to do that with one button instead of thinking about what are the tabs I normally open when I work on this thing, you guys, freaking game changer. And this sounds nitty gritty and it's not going to apply to everybody, but I'm trying to be as transparent as possible. Like this is the level at which things are impacted by this larger decision that automation helps my mental load. Another example is all of the lights in my house are on timers. We are an app house, so the lights that are controlled by an app. I mean, we have switches that turn on other lights, but we never use them. We only use the app, and I wake up at the same time every day. So I put a fade up automatically on my lights in my house so I don't have to walk around turning lights on. They just turn on gradually when I want them to every day. It sounds small, but it's so delicious. And then more obvious things like making sure the dog's food is on auto ship so I don't have to realize I'm out of it, like things like that. Another thing I automate that is a little less intuitive is whenever I notice somebody's birthday coming up in a week or 2 on the calendar, because I'll scan ahead like a week and a half for life, not for birthdays specifically. But if I happen to notice somebody's birthday's coming up, I will write a message to them and then schedule it to send on their birthday. Again, it's one of those things that sounds small, but I can guarantee I'll text when I'm thinking about it. I can't guarantee I'm going to text you on Tuesday. I don't know where I'm going to be on Tuesday mentally. So if I can automate that, because my intention is that you hear from me on your birthday, and I've decided it's not less meaningful if it's an automated message that I scheduled, I'll just do it right then because then it's done. It's like loop open, loop closed. Chef's kiss. So your question here is, what could you automate? What things could you do once instead of forever? Or what automations could make your life easier or more pleasant? My last big decision that's made a real difference in the mental load and the decision ease of every day is that my mental and physical health are a real priority. This wasn't like a New Year's resolution kind of thing. It was a deeper shift in defining what matters and defining non-negotiables for myself. Because I used to be a person who would just push through to meet deadlines. You know, if I didn't get outside that day, if I didn't go on a walk, if I didn't whatever, at least the important stuff got done. Or I struggled a long time with being super consistent in eating enough food. Like I would just work and get distracted and then, 7 hours would go by and I'd be like, wait, what? Did I have goldfish? I can't even remember. I've also been a person who has not always reached out for support when I need it, either on the friend front, on the business front. And a lot of us get these habits from all over. We get trained, we adapt to situations, we are taught by caregivers or mentors or teachers or whoever. So we end up with these habits. I should probably do an entire episode on this topic alone, but the bottom line here is making this larger decision that my mental and physical health truly matter. They're not bottom of the list items. Makes everyday decisions easier when it comes time to do something and I don't feel great, or face a problem and I feel under-resourced. I have more permission for myself to address that situation. Okay, do something to feel better. Do go walk outside, phone a friend, or talk to your coach, or do something to seek support in order to make facing this challenge easier. So my question for you is, if you truly prioritized your well-being, what would change about the way you treat yourself during the day? What would change in how your day is structured? What decisions would be different? And this is not a right answer, wrong answer situation. Nothing is. But it was a really important question for me to ask myself because I could see things, I could see gaps in my day. I could see the mental load that was being added by not prioritizing the mental and physical health. So it's something to check for and see if you see any gaps, how you want to fill them. So I hope this has been interesting brain fodder for you. I hope we've sparked some helpful questions for you to find some bigger decisions you could make. Don't put the pressure on yourself to wake up a different person tomorrow, but do give yourself permission to listen to your choices and make some big ones that will have an effect on future you every single day, that will make your everyday decisions easier, that will make your everyday mental load a little lighter or a lot lighter. And if this has sparked something for you and you really want to share it, I would love to hear from you. You can reach out on Instagram. I'm at KP Coaching, or on TikTok at The Decision Coach. Make sure you get your hands on all of the new resources. The 5 things clear-headed decision makers get right is at kirstenparker.com/clear. And the Decision Ease Essentials Workshop, so good, is at kirstenparker.com/essentials. And I can't wait to talk to you more about all these fun changes coming up. Have a great week, and I'll see you soon.